I'm Kayla.
And I'm Haley.
And we majored in English for this.
For this?
Alright, this week we read Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, and it was published on October 10th, 2017.
Oh, I thought it came out just like last year for some reason.
It's one of those things where time doesn't work for us anymore, because this came out just at the beginning of our senior year of college, which feels like 2 days ago.
True.
Yeah. So, this was our first time reading it. And then we don't really have a nostalgia factor, except, damn, I fucking miss John Green, you know?
Yeah, me too.
But I want to do a new feature called In Defense of John Green. So, for anyone who is on Tumblr, you guys know where I'm going with this. Haley, I think you're already off Tumblr at this point.
Yeah.
But John Green was, I feel like he was a big presence in early Tumblr days, you know? Like,
yeah.
Because, like, it made sense because most of his audience for writing was teenagers, and then most of his audience for his YouTube channels were young adults as well. So they were just like, oh, make a Tumblr, it'll be fun. And so that was the thing. Everyone used to joke, oh, the only adult supervision we have on Tumblr is John Green. Remember those jokes? But this is straight from Wikipedia that I will read you. In 2015, a Tumblr post from user Virgin, spelt Virjn, generated media controversy as it claimed John Green is a, quote, creep who panders a teenage girl so he can amass some weird cult-like following. Others users commented on the post criticizing his writing and tagging Green to bring the post to his attention. Green responded to the post, defending himself, stating, throwing that kind of accusation around is sick and libelous and most importantly damages the discourse around the actual sexual abuse of children. Green added that he would like to use the social media website less often, stating, I'm not angry or anything like that, I just need some distance for my well-being. Fellow young adult authors Rainbow Rowell and Maggie Stiefvater came to Green's defense. Stiefvater wrote on Tumblr, you can have your own opinions on Green's books and internet presence, but the fact remains that he's a real positive influence on thousands of teens. You're not just making sure you can't have nice things, you're taking away other people's nice things. In a subsequent email to USA Today, Stiefvater wrote, I had something to say, not because of the nature of the post, although they were distasteful and borderline libel, but because the grotesquerie was being force-fed to the author. So, this kind of glosses over, but people were calling, like, John Green, like, a predator, because he wrote young adult fiction.
Just because he's like the only like male in this space, like there are others obviously, but like
yeah, because he wrote
the most prominent man.
Because he wrote young adult fiction that talked about sex, and that made him a predator.
Weird.
Yeah, people are really grasping for straws.
Ugh.
And like to this day, like maybe it's just because I knew who John Green was before he was on Tumblr, so like I'm sure if you and like this is right when The Fault in Our Stars was coming out, so there's all that controversy as well, where people are just like, he's romanticizing cancer, and it's just like, first of all, how can you romanticize cancer? Second of all, he wrote that book after working with teenagers with cancer, and even dedicated the book to a fan who died from cancer. So like,
jeez, people really just.
So this was during when The Fault in Our Stars movie was coming out and Paper Towns was being made. So people were just wanted to hate John Green. And then there's the famous reason why you can no longer edit posts on Tumblr anymore, because someone edited a John Green post. You know the one, Haley.
No, I don't.
Oh, I don't really feel comfortable quoting it because I know it like mostly by heart, but basically it's about sucking dick, and it's very, very detailed and graphic, and
you could edit other people's
yeah
posts?
Yep.
Oh, like when you would reblog it, you could change what they said.
Yep. And then I believe John Green. Everyone's pretty sure John Green's agents were just like, Tumblr, you're gonna get sued, and they were just like taking that feature away.
All of Tumblr will be sued.
Yeah. Okay. So, in defense of John Green, weird pro John Green podcast. I think.
Yeah, so he, like, didn't even do anything.
No,
I
people
figured
just...
he, like, did something
No.
that, like, people misconstrued or something.
No, he's just, like, an awkward John Green old man. Like, they were just creeped out.
Like...
Yeah,
okay.
They were just creeped out because, like, I guess what I'm saying is, if you didn't know who John Green was, and you just knew that he was a very famous best-selling author who interacted with his fans on a very personal level on Tumblr, I feel like you'd be creeped out. But you're missing a lot of context there with the fact that he wasn't just a best-selling author. He's also a YouTuber.
Yeah, he's like an internet person. It's not like he's just like an old man author. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a difference for sure.
Yeah, so, like, this is definitely glossing over it because I do have strong opinions about this, and I like, mass unfollowed a lot of people during this time because I was very annoyed. Okay, so let's get into what happened here.
All right.
Okay, the opening line of this book, let's just get into it. Let's just jump right into it. Also, yes, no soda this week. I'm out of soda. I'm sorry.
Oh, rip.
Okay, at the time I first realized I might be fictional. My weekdays were spent at a publicly funded institution on the north side of Indianapolis called White River High School, which I was required to eat lunch at a particular time between 12:37 p.m. and 1:14 p.m. by forces so much larger than myself I couldn't begin to identify them. If those forces had given me a different lunch period, or if the table mates who helped author my fate had chosen a different topic of conversation that September day, I would have met a different end, or at least a different middle. But I was beginning to learn that your life is a story told about you, not one that you tell. So our narrator is Aza?
I was saying Aza, like Asa, but with a Z.
Aza? I would say Aza.
I think it's probably up to you.
I'll say Aza. Okay, Aza Holmes, who suffers from OCD and anxiety, which I feel like is redundant because OCD is technically an anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
And thus, Aza has some very interesting narration and thoughts. We meet Aza's two best friends, Michael Turner. He was a long-running... Oh, okay. Michael Turner was scribbling in a yellow paper notebook. Our lunch table was like a long-running play on Broadway. The cast changed over the years, but the roles never did. Michael was the artsy one, and he was talking with Daisy Ramirez, who played the role of my best and most fearless friend since elementary school, but I couldn't follow their conversation over the noise of the others. Aza is constantly thinking about the amount of bacteria that live in our biomes and how we are microbiomes, and I'm skeezed out. Disgusted. Yeah. Hate it.
Disgusting.
Please, at this point, I wrote, please stop talking about C. diff. If only I knew.
Your wish was not granted.
No, so C. diff, I didn't put the definition in here because I prayed that she would stop. So C. diff is a type of infection that you can get. It's called Clostridium difficile colotis, which results from the disruption of normal healthy bacteria in the colon, often from antibiotics. C. diff can also be transmitted from person to person by spores. It can cause severe damage to the colon and even be fatal. So, she's obsessed about that.
Yep.
So Michael and Daisy are discussing Davis Pickett, or, well, his father, who disappeared before being arrested by the FBI. He wasn't arrested by the FBI, like the FBI was gonna arrest him, but then he was gone.
Right.
And there's a $100,000 award out for him. And Aza goes on to this description of the callus on her finger. And you know what, Haley? I almost threw up. Like, I can read a lot of, like, crazy fantasy bullshit gore, but this? Not a fan. Not a fan.
of, like, her, like, opening it up and...
No, I don't do that.
That stuff doesn't really gross me out that much.
Oh, I don't, like, I can watch, like, an intense, like, battle scene, and I can watch medical dramas, but if I start thinking too much about, like, blood, ugh, do not. Like, ugh. Okay. So, Asa starts having an anxiety attack, and I just really love this quote. All the while, I was breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth, in the manner advised by Dr. Karen Singh, exhaling a pace that would make a candle flicker but not go out. Imagine that candle as a flicking from your breath, but still there, always there. So I tried that, but the thought spiral kept tightening anyways. I could hear Dr. Singh saying I shouldn't get out my phone, that I mustn't look up the same questions over and over, but I got it out anyway, reread the Human Microbiota Wikipedia article. The thing about a spiral is, if you follow it inward, it never actually ends. It just keeps tightening infinitely. Yep. So
I feel like I'm going to talk about it throughout, but just like it's so accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I never realized like how like similar, like this is not the kind of OCD I have. Well, she talks about her thoughts, like her intrusive thoughts and how you can't stop thinking about them. And that's like the same thing that like happens to me. And I guess I just never realized how like similar other people, like all OCD is. It just has like, it just comes in different forms, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the same obsessive tendencies but different compulsions.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have OCD, so that's what I was inferring from what you said.
Yeah.
So, disclaimer, I have anxiety issues and Haley has OCD issues.
Which gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay. So, Daisy is really into Star Wars, so they're going to watch one, and then Asa is going to take Daisy to work after school. Asa's mother is a math teacher at the high school, and we find out that Asa takes anxiety medication, but not every day like she's supposed to. And I'm just like, Asa, that's not how this works.
I know.
And then her mom's just like, did you take your medicine this morning? And then she's like, who decides when the bells ring? I asked. And then like there's this whole where she just like deflects, moves on. And her mom's just like, why are we talking about this? Asa drives Daisy home. I'm going to say different every time I say it. It's just going to happen.
That's all right.
Because Asa sounds too much like Daisy to me.
Yeah, they have the same middle sounds.
So Asa. Asa's like in love with her car named Harold because he was her father's car. And while they're in the car, they hear another news report about Russell Pickett, and Asa knew Pickett's son. They went to summer camp together. Daisy wants her to find Pickett, and Asa remembers there being a wildlife camera behind the Pickett house, so her and Daisy go to investigate. Wait, how are there no security cameras? What kind of billionaire doesn't have security cameras? The kind who doesn't want a shady business being recorded, I said. As we drove, I kept turning the story over in my head. I knew some edge of it was jagged, but I couldn't figure out which one, until I snagged a memory of an eerie green coyotes with white eyes. Wait, there was a camera, not a security one, but Davis and his brother had a motion capture camera in the woods by the river. It had like night vision and would snap a picture whenever something walked past, deer or coyotes or whatever. Holmesy, she said, we have a lead. And because of the camera at the front gate, he couldn't have driven off, I said. So either he climbs over his own wall, or else he walks through the woods down to the river and leaves from there, right? Yes, so he could have tripped the camera. I mean, it's been a few years since I was there. Maybe it's gone. So they get to Asa's house, find the old canoe, and paddle across the river. They stop first at this river island that has children, Asa and Daisy, named Pirates Island. Then they roll up onto the Pickett's property, and they find the night vision camera. I swiped through more pictures until I got back to September 9th, and there, yes, in the shades of green, I could see the back of a stocky man wearing a striped nightshirt, time-stamped 1:01:03 a.m. I screenshotted it. So Daisy's coming with the cover story for them because a security guard spotted them. She breaks their canoe, and the security guard is like, the fuck? And Daisy's just like, we're friends with Davis. Take us to Davis. So,
Take us to Davis.
So he takes him to Davis. We drove halfway around the pool to another patio where Davis Pickett was reclining on a lounger. He was wearing his school polo shirt and khaki pants, holding a book at an angle to block the sun as he read. When he heard the cart, he sat up and looked over at us. He had skinny, sunburned legs and knobbly knees. He wore plastic rimmed glasses and an Indiana Pacers hat. Ozza Holmes, he said? So Davis definitely remembers Ozza and is like, you want a Dr. Pepper? And then Davis is like, I hope you're not after the reward, which they are. And then Daisy lies and says that Ozza used to have a huge crush on him, which is why they're there. Daisy stumbles into the resident zoologist, who shows him the Tuatara. I don't understand this Tuatara plotline at all.
I don't either.
I have this whole thing about Tuataras. I'm not gonna read it. If you want to know about Tuataras, look it up.
Google it.
Basically, Russell Pickett was obsessed with his Tuatara named Tua.
And they live for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. So Davis drives them home, and it's obvious he really doesn't like his dad and wants him to stay gone. Davis also remembers Ozza's obsession with her callus, and Daisy ships Ozza and Davis. And apparently, in the event that Russell Pickett dies, all his money goes to Tua. The Tuatara. The fucking lizard.
God.
Ozza has some intrusive, or as she likes to call them, invasive thoughts about her Band-Aid because Davis looked at it. I got a quote. You're watching TV with your mom, this show about time-traveling crime solvers, and you remember a boy holding your hand, looking at your finger, and then a thought occurs to you. You should unwrap the Band-Aid and check to see if there's an infection. You don't actually want to do it. It's just an invasive. Everyone has them, but you can't shut yours up. Since you've had a reasonable amount of cognitive behavioral therapy, you tell yourself, I'm not my thoughts, even though deep down you're not sure what exactly that makes you. Then you tell yourself to click a little X in the top corner of the thought to make it go away. And maybe it does for a moment. You're back in your house on your couch next to your mom, and your brain says, well, but wait, what if your finger's infected? Why not just check? The cafeteria wasn't exactly the most sanitary place to reopen that wound. And then you were in the river. So this turns into a thought spiral. And yeah, she changes the Band-Aid and gross. I
don't get her obsession with fucking hand sanitizer. Why not antibiotic ointment or some shit? Like,
I don't know.
That would help so much more.
Probably because she started doing it when she was like 7.
Yeah, true.
So, and after school, Ozza goes driving, and I just fucking love the way John Green writes. I'm gonna read this. Like, this has nothing to do with the plot. I just love this quote. Sometimes you happen across a brilliant run of radio songs where each time one station goes to commercial, you scan to another that has just started to play that you love, but almost forgotten about. A song you never would have picked, but it turns out to be perfect for shouting along to. And so I drove along to one of those miraculous playlists heading nowhere. I followed the highway east, then south, then west, then north, then east again, until I ended up the same Meridian Street exit where I started.
I do also love that quote, but like, I really like Asa, and I just feel like he chose a time in her life where her anxiety was really bad. Mm-hmm. So like we just don't get much more of her personality, which she obviously has.
Yeah,
it's just I feel like we chose to show us this time in her life that her anxiety is really bad, and so we just don't get a lot more of it, and I don't know.
At the beginning we get a lot of it, and then at the end we get more of it.
Yeah.
It's just the middle part when she stops taking her meds that we get the issues. Okay. Ozza gets home, and there's this interesting idea about orphanhood despite having one parent still alive. Ozza and Daisy are having a late dinner at an Applebee's, which in itself is just so strange. Like, they apparently go to Applebee's all the time because they got a bunch of coupons. But I'm just like, Applebee's? That's where you're going? Anyways, Daisy got a dick pic sent to her in regards to her Ray/Chewbacca fanfic.
I love that.
And they discuss the merits of it. Ozza decides to social media stalk Davis So relatable, Ozza. So relatable. She tracks down his Instagram, Twitter, YouTube channel, and then a secret blog that posts corresponding quotes from his IG to little blog posts. I got a quote. "I'm very close," Daisy says suddenly. "Very, very close. If only I were as good at life as I am at the internet." I looked up, returning the sensorial plane of Applebee's. Daisy was tapping at her phone with one hand while holding her cup of water with the other. Everything was loud and bright. At the bar, people were shouting about some sports occurrences. "What have you got?" "Oh, sorry," she asked as she put down her water. Davis had a girlfriend, but they broke up last November-ish. He has a blog, but hasn't updated anything since his dad disappeared. I don't know. In the blog, he seems sweet, I guess. "Well, I'm glad you used your internet detective skills to determine that Dave is a sweet Holmesy. I love you. But find some info on the case." So, Russell Pickett is on the run for the police for the following. 15 years ago, the government had set aside all this money to clean up the White River by building more sewage retention pools and expanding this tunnel system that runs underneath downtown, diverting a creek called Pog's Run. The idea was that within a decade, the sewers would stop dumping in the river every time it rained. Pickett Engineering had gotten the initial contract, but they never finished the work and had gone way over budget, so the government pulled the contract for Pickett's company and allowed anyone to bid on the finishing project. And then, even though they'd done a terrible job the first time, Pickett Engineering won the new contract, apparently by bribing state officials. Two of Pickett's executives have already been arrested and were believed to be cooperating with the police. Pickett himself hadn't been charged, although an editorial in the paper from 3 days before his disappearance criticized the authorities. The Indianapolis Star has enough evidence to indict Russell Pickett. Why don't the authorities?
So he's just a piece of shit.
Yeah. Crummy guy. Daisy gets her hands on the police report for Russell Pickett. We don't get any real information about the police report because Daisy and Ozza start talking about Star Wars, which I have previously stated on this podcast I have never seen, nor do I intend to ever see.
I've seen most of them, and it didn't really make a difference, so...
You know? Ozza and her mom are driving to school, and her mom asks her if she's taken her meds, and Ozza lies and says yes. And says, "For one thing, I wasn't convinced the circular white pill was doing anything when I did take it. For another, I was not taking it quite as often as I was technically supposed to. Partly I kept forgetting, but also there was something else I couldn't quite identify. Some weight I fear that taking a pill to become myself was wrong." And I'm just like, Ozza, maybe it's not working because you're not taking it every day like you're supposed to.
Right. I hate this mentality. Like, I just really don't agree with it. Like,
yeah,
I don't think you take a pill to, like, it's like, you don't take a pill to become something, like, become yourself. You're, like, you know,
yeah.
You're sick. You're a sick person. Not in, like, a mean way, but, like, you need to cure that. Not cure that.
Treat
I'm saying
it.
all the wrong things.
Treat
Let's
it.
move on.
Yeah, it's like if you have a headache, you take a Tylenol. Or you suffer through it.
Right.
Like a crazy person.
And, like, I guess another thing with, like, behavioral and psychological disorders is, like, you can learn behaviors to help it.
Cope.
And, like, cope with it, but it, like, the medication, like, helps you get there. And that's just what I've always believed. So I didn't like this train of thought, but, yeah.
Yeah. So Michael wants to ask out Daisy, and Ozza encourages him. God, I'm a fool. English is my first language. But Daisy says he looks like a giant baby.
I can understand this. You know when people just, like, look like giant babies?
Yeah, I was gonna say something mean, but I'm gonna move on. Not about you.
What, because I have a round baby face?
No, I was gonna say it about someone else.
Oh, okay. Maybe we won't then.
It'd be different if I was insulting you. Okay, so Ozza finally reads the police report. Pickett wasn't noticed as missing until the police raided the house at 5:35 a.m. and his sons last saw him for a few minutes after dinner the night before. Meaning that the night cam gives our pro tags a leg up on the police. The reward is from Pickett's company and will only be given out. If he is found, it might be split between everyone else who gives in a tip. Davis texts Azza, and Azza feels guilty because he has made it apparent that everyone just wants the money and not just be friends with him. The next day,
Davis is so cute. Like, no teenager exists that is like him. Like, he's just like an actual person instead of like a teenage boy who isn't.
I kind of want him to have his own book.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So the next day, Daisy informs Azza that Michael asked her out last night over the phone, and she panicked and said yes, but only if it was a double date with Azza and Davis, who Azza is not dating. Azza goes to therapy, which I really want to talk about, in Representation Station.
Yep.
So it's date time at Applebee's. Azza's feeling something I always feel, the feeling of being there but not, that you're separate from the rest of the group by a wall. If you weren't there, no one would really notice, and you laugh because they laugh, not because it was funny. It was just Haley, you've seen me in awkward social situations. Do I talk? Do I engage?
No, but neither do I. I've gotten a lot, like, since, like, I don't know, we can talk about it later, like, I guess, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I've gotten a lot better. That's it.
Yeah, Haley and I have definitely been to a lot of, like, meetings for our internship, and where there'd be important people there, and me and Haley would just sit there and not speak.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, moving on. So afterwards, they all go to Davis's to watch a movie, but Daisy and Michael get distracted by the sheer wealth, and then... okay, so Daisy, Davis, Azza. Stop.
It is a lot. It's a lot of the same noises.
Yeah. So, but Daisy and Michael get distracted by the sheer wealth, and then Azza and Davis go for a walk. They lay in a bunker hole, and Davis points out all the stars you can see behind the light pollution. Very romantic until Azza starts talking about parasites. But she tells Davis something. I even told him something I never actually said to Daisy or Dr. Singh or anybody, that the pressing of my thumbnail against my fingertip had started off in a way of convincing myself that I was real. As a kid, my mom had told me that if you pinch yourself and don't wake up, you can be sure that you're not dreaming. So every time I thought maybe I wasn't real, I would dig my fingernail into my fingertip and I would feel the pain, and for a second I'd think, of course I'm real. Davis eventually says that he knows about the night vision picture and that he wishes that he knew for certain that Azza wasn't just using him for the reward, and then gets an idea. He takes her into the garage and pulls a bunch of shit apart, and then, $100,000, he said, and he offered it to me. No, wait, Davis, I can't. Azza, the cops found like $2 million executing their warrant. I bet they didn't even get half of it. Everywhere I look, I find these stacks okay. Not to sound out of touch, but for my dad, this is a goddamn rounding error. It's a reward for not sharing the picture. I'll have our lawyer call you, Simon Morris. He's nice, just a little lawyery. I'm not trying, but I can't know that, he said. Please, just, if you still call or text or whatever, I'll know it's not about the reward. And you will too. That'd be a nice thing to know. Even if you don't call. He walked over to a closet, opened it, stuffed the money into a blue tote bag, and offered it to me. He looked like a kid now, his watery brown eyes, the fear and fatigue in his face, like a kid waking up from a nightmare or something. I took the bag. I'll call you, I said. We'll see.
And then she just runs away.
I know. Also, runs into the house. Daisy and Michael are kissing. And then Noah starts crying on her and gives Azza his dad's phone notes, which he downloaded from the iCloud. Then Azza leaves. And the next day, Daisy calls and just wants to talk about Michael. And Azza wants to meet up to show her the money. Sorry. Azza looks through the notes on the phone. The final 4 notes are this. Maldives, Kosovo, Cambodia. Never tell our business to strangers unless you leave a leg behind. The jogger's mouth. It was impossible to know when those notes had been written, and whether they'd all been written at once, but they certainly seemed connected. A quick search told me that Kosovo, Cambodia, and the Maldives were all nations that had no extradition treaty with the United States, meaning that Pickett might be allowed to stay in them without having to face criminal charges at home. Never Tell Our Business to Strangers was a memoir by a woman whose father lived on the run from the wall. A top search results for "Unless You Leave a Leg Behind" was a news article called "How White-Collar Fugitives Survive on the Lam." The quote in question referred to how difficult it is to fake your own death. The jogger's mouth made no sense to me, and searching turned up nothing except for a bunch of people jogging with their mouths open. Anyways, Daisy and Ozzy meet up at Applebee's. And Daisy freaks out over the money. $50K each.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Can you imagine? Davis's lawyer calls the next morning and tells Ozzy that he set up an appointment for her to create a bank account and deposit her money. Ozzy's worried about who will still take care of Noah, and on the way to the bank together after school, Ozzy starts to panic about her finger cut, and I think this is the first time Daisy has ever seen the true panic and anxiety Ozzy has regarding it. Because, like, I think Daisy, like, knows to an extent, but I think this is the first time she's, like, seen, like...
Right.
Like, it actually impeding and not just obsessive.
Yeah, she, like, has to pull her car over. Like, she can't even drive.
Yeah. But eventually they get to the bank and set up their accounts. They're told to wait at least 6 months before using in the money. Ozzy has to take one of her emergency medicines to calm down when she gets home. Do you think it was, like, a Xanax, or...
I think it was a Xanax or, like, a Klonopin or something like that.
Yeah. So Davis invites Ozzy to watch a meteor shower the next night. Very romantic. Daisy bought a VW Bug and a laptop, and Ozzy's annoyed because the teller specifically told him not to spend the money. And then Daisy gets mad at Ozzy for this, and even comments on how Ozzy's OCD affects her.
Oh, God.
Child. So the weather is overcast, so Davis and Ozzy are going to hang out instead as her mother wants to meet Davis. And it's awkward. Ozzy's mom starts to give him this talk about how he's not entitled to anything just because he's rich, and then Davis starts crying.
Oh, it broke my little heart.
And Ozzy asks him what's wrong in the car. And I got the quotes. "She's wrong that I can have everything I want whenever I want it. What do you want that you don't have?" I asked. "A mother, for starters."
Jesus.
And then, "Your mom gives a shit, you know. Most adults are just hollowed out. You watch them try to fill themselves up with booze or money or God or fame or whatever they worship, and all rots them from the inside until nothing is left with the money or the booze or God they thought would save them. That's what my dad is like. He really disappeared a long time ago, which is maybe why it didn't bother me much. I wish he was here, but I've wished that for a long time. Adults think they're wielding power, but really power is wielding them. The parasite believes itself to be the host." I said, "Yeah," he said. "Yeah." So they go to Davis's and sit outside despite the clouds. Davis and Ozzy talk poetry, and Davis shares some of his, and then they kiss. But of course, OCD stops for no one, not even teenage Trice. A thought occurred to me. His tongue had been in my mouth. I told myself to be in the moment, to let myself feel his warmth on my skin, but now his tongue was on my cheek, wet and alive and microbial, and his hands was sneaking under my jacket, his cold fingers against my bare skin. "It's fine, you're fine, just kiss him. You need to check something. It's fine. Just be fucking normal. Check to see if his microbes stay in you. Billions of people kiss and don't die. Just make sure his microbes aren't going to permanently colonize you. Come on, please. He could have Campylobacter. He could be non-systematic, E. coli carrier. Get that and you'll need antibiotics and you'll get C. diff and then boom, dead in 4 days. Please just fucking stop. Just kiss him. Just check to make sure." So they stop kissing. And as a panic researches this, Davis is seemingly okay and understanding with the thought spirals, but Ozzy remembers what Daisy said earlier that evening. Ozzy leaves after a movie. The next morning, Davis and Ozzy agree that they won't date, but they are interested in one another. Oh, to be 17 again. So, Ozzy goes to therapy after school. They talk about the kissing with Davis. Some good quotes I want to read in Rep Station. That night, her and Davis kind of sexed. Made me real uncomfortable. I do not like sexting at all.
Yeah, me either.
I do not participate in it. Sorry. So they make plans to hang out the next night. But then when Ozzy gets there, something's going on with Davis and Noah. So she goes and sees Malik, the zoologist, and they talk about the Tuatara. Noah gets suspended from school.
For having pot.
God, that little demon boy. Ozza and Davis watch Jupiter ascending.
Love that.
Then they make out. And then thought spirals. And then Ozza drinks some hand sanitizer. No, bad. No, just bad. Don't do that.
It's so bad. Oh, it's so bad. I feel so bad for her.
Here's my PSA, everyone. If you ever think about drinking hand sanitizer, don't.
I actually got some in my mouth one time, and I wanted to puke.
Gross. After Ozza leaves, she cyberstalks David again and finds a new poetry website for him. And while she's reading it all, she reads it all, and then Davis is like, "Are you on my blog? I'm looking at my analytics." Weeks pass. Davis and Ozza continue in this not relationship, dating but not. Ozza and Daisy drift apart, and then Ozza finally reads one of Daisy's fics. And here's an excerpt. Excerpt. How do you say that fucking word? Excerpt? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I've got a weird feeling about this, Elia said. I rolled my eyes. Elia couldn't get anything right. The more she worried, the worse she made everything. She had the moral integrity of a girl who'd never been hungry, always shitting on the way Chewie and I made a living, without noticing that our work provided her with food and shelter. Chewie owed Elia a life debt because her father had died saving Chewie years ago, and Chewie was a Wookiee of principle, even though it wasn't convenient. Elia's morals were all convenience. Morals were all convenience?
What?
I think this is a typo. I think there's a typo in this. I don't know. Elia's morals were all convenience because easy living was the only kind of living she'd ever known. Elia mumbled, "This isn't right." She reached into her mane of blue hair and plucked out a strand and twirled it around her fingers. A nervous habit, but then all her habits were nervous. Ozza realizes that Elia is her, an OC based on her. I now saw myself as Daisy saw me. Clueless, helpless, useless, less. I'm gonna fucking cry.
I know. This, like, form of, like, self-hatred that comes along with, like, OCD and anxiety and pretty much just any mental health, like, really makes me really sad because, like, I've definitely been there and, like...
It's this double-edged sword of being both not enough and too much.
Yes. And, like, that's some of my, like, spiraling, like, just thinking, like... She talks about it a lot later, but just, like, this is always going to be your life. Like, nothing is ever going to change, and it's just... Yeah. Fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah, so Ozza tried to be mad at Daisy, but tries to be a better version of herself than Elia. And dude, no, fuck Daisy! Fuck Daisy!
Yeah, fuck Daisy.
I'm anti-Daisy the rest of this book. Fuck Daisy. That night, Ozza and Davis hang out again. They talk about the spirals of the galaxies and the spirals of Ozza's thoughts. They also go swimming in their underwear. Afterwards, they go inside and talk more about the stars. Davis's current favorite star is the Tau Ceti because it is 12 light years away, and the light refracted from Earth onto it is from 12 years ago, when his mother was still alive. And Ozza realizes her and Davis's hearts are broken in the same way. When Ozza goes home, she reads more of Davis's poetry and then more of Daisy's fics, and then spirals into reading some more microbiome articles and finds out that the gut-brain informational access, which causes her to spiral more, and then she drinks more hand sanitizer. No!
God.
I got this quote. I returned to a question Dr. Singh had first asked me years ago, the first time it got this bad. Do you feel like you're a threat to yourself? But which is the threat and which is the self? I wasn't not a threat, but couldn't say to whom or what. The pronouns and objects of the sentence muddied by the abstraction of it all. The words sucked into the non-legal way down. You're a we, you're a you, you're a she and it, a they, my kingdom for an I. Felt myself slipping, but even that's a metaphor. Descending, but that is too. Can't describe the feeling itself except to say that I'm not me, forged in the smithy of someone else's soul. Please just let me out. Whoever is authoring me, let me up out of this. Anything to be out of this. Yeah. The next day, Ozza's spiraling all day long, and Daisy wants to go to Applebee's, and then Ozza confronts her about Elia. I'm sorry, okay? I should have let Elia die years ago, but yeah, you're right. It is kind of a coping with... I mean, Holmesy, you're exhausting. Yeah, well, all our friendship has gotten you in the last couple months is $50,000 and a boyfriend. You're right. I'm a terrible person. What'd you call me in that story? Useless. I'm useless. Aza, she's not you, but you are extremely self-centered. Like, I know you have the mental problems and whatever, but they do make you know. I don't know, actually. They make me what? Michael said once that you're like mustard, great in small quantities, but then a lot of you is a lot. Fuck Daisy!
That's so awful. Like, only teenagers can say that to another human being. Like,
if another human said that to me, done. Stop the car. Get the fuck out.
it's just, it's really awful.
And then Azza does go, and then, I'm not even done. And then, Daisy goes off on how Azza knows nothing about Daisy, and Azza's like, I do know things about you, but you don't tell her things, she doesn't know them.
Right.
But then she keeps going, and then finally, when Azza finally snaps and starts screaming back, Azza crashes the car. Harold, the car is destroyed, and Azza's dad's phone is as well. Azza has to go to the hospital of fear. No antibiotics, but she has to stay overnight in the hospital. And then she spirals and spirals and spirals, and then drinks hand sanitizer again, and then throws up, which wakes her mother up.
That's so awful.
The next morning, Azza finally admits to her mother that her OCD has gotten considerably worse. Azza's hospitalized for 8 days. Dr. Singh comes every day to see her, and after Azza's release, Dr. Singh comes to her house twice a week. Her mother watches her take her medicine every morning. Eventually, Azza goes back to school. Her and Daisy make up, but I'm still fucking mad at Daisy. Daisy and Michael broke up. Daisy returned the car and cut her off her hair. Daisy tries to finally understand Azza. You just, hate yourself. You hate being yourself. There's no self to hate. It's like, when I look into myself, there's no actual me. Just a bunch of thoughts and behaviors and circumstances, and a lot of them just don't feel like they're mine. They're not things I want to think or do or whatever. And then I look for the, real me, I never find it. It's like those nesting dolls, the ones that are hollow, and then when you open them up, there's a smaller doll inside, and you keep opening hollow dolls until eventually you get to the smallest one, and it's solid all the way through. But with me, I don't think there's one that's solid. They just keep getting smaller. And then Daisy tells Azza the story about the scientist who's talking about how the world was created and all this stuff. And then during the questions and answer portion, an old lady in the back raised her hand and says, "That's all fine and good, Mr. Scientist, but the truth is the Earth is a flat plane resting on the back of a giant turtle." The scientist decides to have a bit of fun with the woman and responds, "Well, but if that's so, what is the giant turtle standing upon?" And the woman says, "It is standing upon the shell of another giant turtle." And then the scientist is frustrated. He says, "And well, what is that turtle standing upon?" And the woman says, "Sir, you don't understand. It's turtles all the way down." I laughed. "It's turtles all the way down. It's turtles all the fucking way down, Holmesy. God. You're trying to find the turtle at the bottom of the pile, but that's not how it works. Because it's turtles all the way down," I said finally, feeling something akin to spiritual revelation.
Okay, am I the only one who doesn't get the spiritual revelation of that?
I think instead of, it's supposed to be instead of trying to find herself, it's looking, not being, and trying to find the final thing. But there's no final. They just keep going infinitely. Because yourself is an infinite version of yourself. You'll never find the true version of yourself.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Azza tells her mother about the money, and her mom's a little freaked out at first, but decides to trust Azza. Davis and Azza meet up at Applebee's, and he's worried that Azza wants to end it because she can't be normal for him. Azza tries to text him. Oh, wait, hold on, I misread about that. Davis and Azza meet up at Applebee's, and he's worried, but Azza wants to end it because she can't be normal for him. Which I'm just like, okay, valid, but also at the same time, you don't get to decide what he can and cannot handle.
Right.
Yeah. Azza tries to text him that night, but he says he can't do that because it feels like she only likes him from a distance, and he needs to be liked up close. Michael's art got accepted to an underground art show, and Azza and Daisy are going to it. It's cool, I guess. And then Azza has a good metaphor for, it's just gross. It's in the sewers. No, I would never go. Ever. Ozza has a good metaphor for her anxiety and fear. Turn the light off. Nothing bad will happen. She clicked off her light, and the world went dark. I felt my eyes trying to adjust, but there was no light to adjust to. Now, you can't see the walls right. Can't see the rats. Spin around a few times, you won't know which way is in and which way is out. This is scary. Now, imagine if we couldn't talk, if we couldn't hear each other's breathing. Imagine if we had no sense of touch, so even if you were standing next to each other, we'd never know it. Imagine you're trying to find someone, or even you're trying to find yourself, but you have no senses, no way to know where the walls are, which way is forward or backward, what is water and what is air. You're senseless and shapeless. You feel like you can only describe what you are by identifying what you're not, and you're floating around in a body with no control. You don't get to decide who you like or where you live or when you eat or what you fear. You're just stuck in there, totally alone in the darkness. That's scary. This, I said and turned on the flashlight, this is control. This is power. There may be rats and spiders and whatever the hell, but we shine the light on them, not the other way around. We know where the walls are, which way is in and which way is out. This, I said, turning my light off again, is what I feel like when I'm scared. This, I turned the flashlight back on, is a walk in the fucking park. Yeah. Anyways, so Ozza and Daisy are wandering in the sewers again. Gross. But then Ozza and Daisy realize that Pogue's Run is the jogger's mouth from Pickett's list. Ozza and Daisy worry that he's dead down there.
Or that he's there alive.
Or
First they worry that he's alive and just standing there behind them or something. And then they're like, oh, it's stinky. It's stinky down here.
Maybe he did. Ozza says even if they don't tell the police or a body isn't found, in 7 years he'll be declared dead anyways.
But she does tell Davis. You missed that part.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Ozza decides to tell Davis, and he realizes his father's probably dead as well. And Ozza says, even if they even don't tell the police about it. So it's up to Davis now. A month passes. They find Pickett's body. He was, in fact, in the sewers. Ozza
He died of exposure? What does that even mean?
Basically, he was just down there too long. The elements got to him. The poo-poo and the pee-pee.
Oh.
And the cold.
Gross.
No water, no food. What was he doing down there? What was he gonna accomplish? Did he think his kids were gonna come find him?
He was legitimately a billionaire and he died in a sewer.
I have so many questions. Why was he in the sewers? So Ozza
anyway.
Ozza texts Davis. He says he and Noah called the police and gave them the tip. And then life goes on. Months pass. Then one day, Davis comes to Ozza's house. He gives her this big box. Then they go for a walk. Davis and Noah are moving to Colorado. Ozza will remember Davis as her first love, even if they never said it. And her OCD won't magically heal one day. It will be there forever, constantly maintaining it. Even when she grows up, goes to college, has kids, she'll still always have it. And then the final parts of the book. But underneath those skies, your hand. No, my hand. No, our hand and his. You don't know yet. You don't know that the spiral painting is in that box on your dining room table with a post-it note stuck to the back of the frame. Stole this from a lizard for you. D. You can't know yet that painting will follow you from one apartment to another and eventually to a house, or how decades later you'll be so proud that Daisy continues to be your best friend, that growing into different lives only makes you more fiercely loyal to each other. And you don't know that you'll go to college, find a job, make a life, see it unbuilt and rebuilt. I, a singular proper pronoun, it would go on, if always in a conditional tense. But you don't know any of that yet. We squeeze his hand, he squeezes back. You stare up at the same sky together, and after a while he says, I have to go, and you say, goodbye, and he says, goodbye, Ozza. And no one ever says goodbye unless they want to see you again. The end.
I forgot that John Green books don't have happy endings.
They don't.
Never.
Spoilers, Looking for Alaska. She dead.
She dead. Fucking
Paper Towns. They don't get together. The Fault in Our Stars. August dies.
Yeah, fuck me.
God. I feel like if we can't read The Fault in Our Stars on this podcast ever.
I don't think I ever want to read it ever again.
I saw the last 100 pages of that book. sob reading.
I was sobbing.
Like, the gas station scene to the end of the book, sobbing. It wasn't
Could not do it.
like, okay. So let's talk about love, good feelings.
I'm so mad that's it. Why can't all books just have a happy ending? Like,
I
life
think
itself
it's more. I think it's more
doesn't have a happy
realistic.
ending. I know. I hate that. This is supposed to get me away from the shitty parts of real life.
Like, I don't know. I've always liked that his books don't have happy endings. They have true endings. Make you think. Thinkers. Hey, just be glad the Fault in Our Stars didn't end in the middle of a sentence. He could have done that to us.
That's true.
Okay. Let's talk about love.
All right.
Do you want to read this first quote?
Sure. Is this...
I'm not...
Is this saying this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really not looking to date anyone. I know people often say that when secretly looking for a romantic partner, but I meant it. I definitely felt attracted to some people, and I liked the idea of being with someone, but the actual mechanics of it didn't much suit my talents. Like, parts of typical romantic relationships that made me anxious included 1. Kissing, 2. Having to say the right thing to avoid hurt feelings, 3. Saying more wrong things while trying to apologize, 4. Being at a movie theater together and feeling obligated to hold hands even after your hands become sweaty and the sweat starts mixing together. And 5, the part where they say, "What are you thinking about?" And they want you to be like, "I'm thinking about you, darling." But you're actually thinking about how cows literally could not survive if it weren't for the bacteria in their guts, and how that sort of means that cows don't exist as independent life forms. But that's not really something you can say out loud. So you're ultimately forced to choose between lying and seeming weird.
I felt Davis fumbling for something, his phone maybe, and then glanced down and realized he was trying to hold my hand. I took it. We were quiet beneath the old light above us. I was thinking about how the sky, at least this sky, wasn't actually black. The real darkness was in the trees, which could be seen only in silhouette. The trees were shadows of themselves against the rich silver blue of the night sky. I heard him turn his head toward me. And could feel him looking at me. I wondered why I wanted him to kiss me, and how to know why you want to be with someone, how to disentangle the messy knots of wanting. And I wondered why I was so scared to turn my head toward him.
Oh.
I want to read the next one?
Yeah. Basically, we're moving through dust left behind by this comet called Giocombini Zinner, and it would be super beautiful and romantic if only we did not live in gloomy Indiana. It's super beautiful and romantic, I said. We just can't see it. I thought about him asking me if I'd ever been in love. It's a weird phrase in English, in love, like it's a sea you drown in or a town you live in. You don't get to be in anything else, in friendship or in anger or in hope. All you can be in is love. And I wanted to tell him that even though I'd never been in love, I knew what it was like. It was like to be in a feeling. I knew what it was like to be in a feeling, to be not just surrounded by it, but also permeated by it, the way my grandmother talked about God being everywhere. When my thoughts spiraled, I was in the spiral and of it. And I wanted to tell him that the idea of being in a feeling gave language to something I couldn't describe before, created a form for it, and I couldn't figure out how to say any of that out loud.
The way he was smiling made me want to kiss him so bad. Holding hands felt good when it often hadn't before, so maybe this would be different now too. I leaned over the sizable armrest between us and kissed him quickly on the lips, and I liked the warmth of his mouth. I wanted more of it. Raised my hand to his cheek and started really kissing him now. I could feel his mouth opening, and I wanted to be with him like a normal person would. I wanted to feel the brain fuzzy intimacy I'd felt when texting with him. I liked kissing him. He was a good kisser.
We watched each other in silence, our barely discernible faces and bodies exposed through our screen's dim light, more intimate than I could ever be in real life. As I looked at his face looking at mine, I realized the light made him visible to me. The light that made him visible to me came mostly from a cycle. Our screens were lighting each of us with light from the other's bedroom. I could only see him because he could see me. In the fear and excitement of being in front of each other, in that grainy silver light, I felt like I wasn't really in my bed, and he wasn't really in his. Instead, we were together in the non-sensorial place, almost like we were inside each other's consciousnesses, a closeness that real life with its real bodies could never match. After we hung up, he texted me, "I like us, for real," and somehow I believed him.
Oh, you know.
Rip, dude.
Theme park. Let's go to the theme park. Boop, 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 boop.
The theme park needs its own theme music.
Okay, so I have two themes. The spiraling, the constant spiraling of Ozza, spiraling both down and up. And then the importance of wealth. You can be wealthy in money, you can be wealthy in family, and you can be wealthy in love.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like we've talked, like, I really liked, I don't think I grabbed this quote about how Ozza, for the majority of the book, she is spiraling down, but then towards the end, she is spiraling up.
Up and out.
Yeah.
You know, like getting wider.
Yeah. And then I also really liked about how Davis talked about the spiraling of galaxies, and then the talking about the spiraling of Ozza. Mm-hmm. And then the importance of wealth, about how Davis is wealthy in money, but he's not wealthy in love or family. And Ozza's wealthy in love, and Daisy's wealthy in family. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Michael is wealthy in artistic talent.
Yeah. Michael, he was there too. Okay. So,
Yeah.
representation station.
Yeah, let's go.
Toot toot.
Toot toot.
Okay, so this is mostly gonna be mental illness.
Yeah, obviously.
So I got some quotes. I wanted to tell her that I was getting better, because that was supposed to be the narrative illness. It was a hurdle you jumped over, or a battle you won. Illness is a story told in the past tense.
It don't be like that.
Nope. I really feel like that, because it's like when you're in the middle of it, you feel like you cannot tell anyone, and then when it's over, you can say, "Oh, I was really struggling," not "I'm really struggling right now." You know?
Right.
Yeah.
It is really hard to talk about.
Yeah. I feel like I might not be driving the bus of my consciousness.
Oof. Feel that so hard.
Yeah, I really truly feel like I'm not piloting this body, like, every day. Like, is that a healthy thought? Probably not, but like, I'm not in charge. It really does feel like some days I'm not in charge.
Right.
I'm not making the decisions that this body does. Ooh. Okay, so this is this is a big quote from the therapy session, and I really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
One of the challenges with pain, physical or psychic, is that we can really only approach it through metaphor. It can't be represented the way a table or a body can. In some ways, pain is the opposite of language. She turned to her computer, shook her mouse to wake it up, and clicked on an image on her desktop. I want to share something Virginia Woolf wrote. English, which can express thoughts of Hamlet and the tragedy of Lear, has no words for the shiver and the headache. The merest schoolgirl, when she falls in love, has Shakespeare or Keats to speak her mind for her. But let a sufferer try to describe a pain in his head to a doctor, and language at once runs dry. And we're such language-based creatures that to some extent we cannot know what we cannot name. And so we assume it isn't real. We refer to it with catch-all terms like crazy or chronic pain, terms that both ostracize and minimize. The term chronic pain captures nothing of the grinding, constant, ceaseless, inescapable hurt, and the term crazy arrives at us with nothing of the terror and worry you live with, nor do either of those terms connote the courage people in such pain exemplify, which is why I'd ask you to frame your mental health around a word other than crazy.
Yeah, I feel like this is good. It captures how, like, I feel like so few people really realize, like, how much suffering and, like, the chronic pain captures nothing of the grinding, constant, ceaseless, inescapable hurt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't feel like a lot of people understand how much suffering comes with a severe mental illness, or like, just like, and what makes it so much worse is people minimizing like anxiety, like fucking Jake Paul being on the internet saying,
God.
if you're having anxiety, just go for a walk. Like, the fuck are you saying? Like, that is...
Like, that might work for you, Jake Paul, but, like, that doesn't work for everyone. Like...
No, and it's like, it's not anxiety. Like, I get that you, like I was saying earlier, like, you can learn you can learn behaviors to help you cope with this, but... It doesn't... It doesn't get rid of the pain or like the suffering that people experience.
The releasing of endorphins will momentarily treat your symptoms, but it is not treating the actual problem.
Yeah, it's like you have to shape your whole life around it, basically. Like, you have to change the way you do everything to deal with it. You can't just like... I just hate when people, like, mix up having a bad day and having anxiety or being depressed, like...
Yeah. What I really, really loved about this book is the fact that we do have Dr. Singh in this book. And because it's like... It's like someone who Azza doesn't really lie to, and who, like, cuts... I don't want to say cuts through the bullshit, but, like, cuts through the bullshit, where she's just like, Azza, what you are experiencing is real for you, but it is not real.
Right.
It's this... I'm about to read The Bell Jar in my spare time, which I already know going in is not going to have that character who's like, hey, those thoughts aren't okay. Right. And, like, here's some, like, rooted in, like, reality bullshit for you.
Right.
So...
See, I didn't really like Dr. Singh, at least, like...
I didn't like her as a person, but I liked her as an understanding figure, and how when Oz would be like, I'm maybe struggling more than I'm letting on, she's like, okay, let's come at this from a different angle now that you're telling me the truth.
Right. Like, it was... I just, like, hated... Like, go to a different doctor. Like, if you don't like this person, like... These people want to help you. I don't know. I just have a very different view on therapy than she does. Just like...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also feel like we are, in fact, significantly older than Azza as well, so, like...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, when I went to a therapist in high school, I was like, okay, fuck you.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. But it's also just, like... High school kids are gonna read this and be like, okay, therapists fucking suck. When, like,
well, I don't know. I took it from a different point of view of where Dr. Singh would be like, okay, you need to, like, actually take your medicine and, like, we'll talk this through. I really enjoyed that because it was very much like a, hey, these feelings you're having, they're valid feelings, but, like, they're not normal or okay, and you probably should talk to someone. That's how I interpreted it, but if you interpret it a different way, that's valid.
Yeah. This is why, so I have a psychiatrist and a therapist. So I have a psychiatrist who prescribes my medicine, and then I have a therapist who I, like, talk to through my thoughts and my feelings and stuff like that. And I feel like that is a very, like, it definitely works for me. Like, and then I just felt like Dr. Singh was, like, just the psychiatrist part and, like, a little bit of the therapist part, but, like, she was more worried, I don't know, in my mind, like, when I go to my psychiatrist, she asks me my symptoms, and she asks me, like, how my moods have been, and then she is basically like, okay, we're gonna stay on the same dose, and then I leave, you know? Yeah. I don't know.
I think she's, like, one of those therapists who's also a psychiatrist.
Yeah, like a...
Yeah. At least she is just like, maybe we should see each other more often.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay, another quote. I untied my hair, then stared at myself in the mirror. I hated my body. It disgusted me. Its hair, its pinpricks of a sweat. It's scrawny as skin pulled over a skeleton, an animated corpse. I wanted out of my body, out of my thoughts, out. But I was stuck inside this thing, just like the bacteria colonizing me. You know.
Yeah.
Just some thoughts. I think I might be a fiction, I said. How's that? Like, you say it's stressful to have a change in circumstances, right? She nodded. But what if I want to know is there a you independent of circumstances? Is there a way down deep me who is an actual real person? The same person if she has money or not. The same person if she has a boyfriend or not. The same if she goes to this school or that school. Or am I only a set of circumstances? I don't follow how that would make you fictional. I mean, I don't control my thoughts, so they're not really mine. I don't decide if I'm sweating or get cancer or C. diff or whatever, so my body isn't really mine. I don't decide any of that. Outside forces do. I'm a story they're telling. I'm circumstances.
I feel like I definitely get where, like, I feel more of the part where she says she doesn't know if there's a real her, like, like, I definitely feel that, like, one time when I was, or a few times when I was, like, having, like, a panic attack because I just, like, couldn't stop thinking and it was just, I was spiraling, I just had to, like, stare at myself in the mirror and be like, this is still who I am, like, I am still the person that I have, you know, grown up being. Like, I had to stare at myself in the mirror to just, like, remember that I, like I know who I am, you know?
Yeah. I definitely related more to the set of circumstances thing, because that's, like, something I've always had, like, anxiety about, is, like, the fact that a very specific set of circumstances is the reason why I'm here. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast. I think we might have texted about it, but technically I'm quote unquote a rainbow baby, meaning my mother
we've talked about that, but
my mother had a miscarriage but then because she had a miscarriage, my parents decided to try to have another child, and that's why they have me. But I when I'm really bad, I constantly think about, like, what if my mom didn't have a miscarriage? Right. There would be a different kid altogether that they would have, who would not be me. I would not exist.
Right.
And that's, like, a thought that always, like, haunts me. And then, like, different circumstances, like, if I didn't have ADHD, how fucking different would my life be? I wouldn't have been ostracized as a child. I would have had friends. I would have never gone on Adderall when I was 6 years old, and then promptly went off a year and a half later, and then gained 30 pounds and wrecked my entire metabolism to where I'm still overweight to this day. Like, that's a set of circumstances I had no control over.
Right.
But I constantly think about that. I think about, again, if I never gained a bunch of weight, would I be happier, or would I just have different things I'm worried and concerned about?
Right.
Like, I constantly think about that, about how, like, a bunch of children decided when we were 5 that they didn't like me, and now I'm 23 and I still have issues. Right. Sick. Like,
yeah, I do feel like this is something that, like it's when you're a child, like, there's definitely things that you can't control. And I just feel like that's why childhood is so important. Like, raise your kids well. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I really, okay, so this is kind of a bit of Night of the Living Author, but we've talked about this. So John Green himself has OCD, which is, like, why he's able to write about this. I watched a video he posted while during the writing process of Turtles All the Way Down, where he talks about OCD, and his particularly manifests sometimes in making sure that his food's not contaminated, and how he would obsessively research eating moldy food, what it would do to you, and all this stuff, like, obsessively research it, and how he would go through months of having to do this. Right. And so I thought I think it's very interesting that that's where his compulsions came through, and where he chose something a little different. Maybe it's because it'd be a little too real if he went with his own compulsions. Right. But yeah, it also took him 6 years to write this book. Yeah, this would be incredibly hard.
Like, he started writing this book He said it took him 6 years to write this book. So that means he started it right around when The Fault in Our Stars was published, and it took him 6 years. And then, like, a lot of personal stuff with him happened. He had 2 kids, the whole Tumblr thing,
Right.
and, like, a bunch of other things that Vlogbrothers launched, like SciShow, the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I thought that I really... Haley and I texted about this, but I feel like I started reading this book before Haley did, so I warned Haley what this book was about, and like just be ready, because it's talking about anxiety stuff, because this book definitely did trigger my anxiety a lot. I had to take like breaks a lot. Book is less than 300 pages, and I had to take so many breaks while reading it. It took me like 3 weeks to read this book because I kept having to take so many breaks, because I'd read something and it would like the spiraling would trigger something, and I'd be like, okay, gotta take a break, gotta take a break, because reading an immersive experience of someone else having an anxiety attack, not the greatest.
Not so good.
Not the greatest.
Yeah, I felt like, I don't know, I talked about this, this week's vlog, I, like, actually talked about the book, which is better, but, I talked about this a lot, but it's just, like, I liked how it showed, like, how much, like, and I just said this, but, like, how much suffering it, like, comes from this, and, like, it hinders your entire life, and, like, Daisy calls herself centered, but she really doesn't have any other options. Like, she can't stop thinking. She doesn't choose this, and, like,
yeah.
So that, I was glad that it showed that, but it also, like, showed me, like, how far I've come, and, like, I also don't, like, I definitely don't have OCD as severely as she does, but, which I'm thankful for, like, I couldn't, and I also think it's from, like, I do take my medication every single day, and I think that that helps me a lot, but it just, like, I don't want to say, like, it was, like, triggering, but it made me remember how those feelings feel, and that is, like, that part is hard, like, just remembering those feelings, and just knowing that, like, for a long time, for, like, a couple months there, I, like, couldn't deal with those feelings at all. Like, I was completely unable to do anything else than just constantly worry and constantly fall down the spiral. And so, yeah, so I didn't think it was, like, super triggering. It just reminded me that, you know, that's not my life anymore, and I can function, and I can be myself, and it was almost more comforting, I think, but that's where I was.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that brings us to, does this book hold up? Yeah. Just came out a couple of years ago. I don't know, maybe too much Star Wars. we live, like, in a post Rise of the Skywalker. Once again, I don't know anything about anything regarding Star Wars, but I know people have opinions. So maybe the Rey/Chewie stuff isn't kosher anymore.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the most recent one, but
Raylo, it be out there. Okay.
What? No, sorry. I didn't mean no. I did think it was interesting how, like, social media was, like, very integrated into their life, but, like, it's almost the opposite of An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, where it's just, like, a part of their life, like it is but it didn't really, like, affect them or change them, which I thought was cool, because they're teenagers, and I worry about teenagers these days, so.
Yeah. So, let's move on to Night of the Living Author.
Alright.
We already talked about that he has OCD himself. One of the things I want to talk about is he just don't know how fan fiction works. He's like, oh yeah, she's a really famous fan fiction writer. This story has 2,000 reads, and I'm just like, excuse me? What? That's not making waves nowhere. Like, I literally just looked up how many hits my most read my most read fan fiction, which I have not updated in 2 years, which was for a very small fandom, not even the size of Star Wars, has over 20,000 hits. So, like,
Wow.
has 22,196 hits. And I haven't updated it in 2 years. And there's 10 chapters. So that's, like, over 2,000 per. But, like, that's for a small fandom. So, like, no, you're not famous. I was infamous, but then, like, in the fandom, because I was, once again, in a small fandom. So, like, everyone in the fandom read it. Like, this short story, in the same fandom, I wrote a one-shot that was, like, 5K, and it got over 5,000 reads. Or, yeah, the current fanfiction, which I have not updated since December, sits at over 7,000 hits. So, like, and once again, that's not a popular fanfiction. So, like, John Green, you don't know shit about shit.
Yeah, I would never write about fan fiction because not really part of that world, you know?
I am. Yeah, that was my only gripe with John Green.
My only gripe is, why did he have to include that story about the old man who lived to be, like, super old and he still had OCD and still wouldn't eat unless his wife cooked it for him?
Oh, that dude, yeah.
Because that freaked me the fuck out. I was like, am I really gonna be that old dealing with this? I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, okay. Rate that book. I'll give it 7.5.
I'll give it an 8.
Mm-hmm.
A solid 8.
Yeah.
Maybe 4.5 stars.
How believable was the magic? No magic. Would we let our middle school selves read this book? Why not?
Yeah, I think I would.
Maybe I'd be more encouraged to ask my parents if I could go to therapy when I was 14.
Right.
Yep. So, okay. So that's the podcast this week. Next week, Haley.
Oh, God.
You know what we're doing. You know we gotta do it to him. Next week, Haley, a couple things. One, we uploaded our first episode on March 3rd, 2019. No, we uploaded on March 2nd, 2019. I apologize. We are uploading March 3rd, next week. Red Scrolls of Magic, baby.
Oh my God.
A year later, we were back again with Cassandra Clare. And then we'll also hit episode 50 on the 10th with Ghost of the Shadow Market.
Fuck.
Back to the beginning, y'all. So
we're back to our roots. And
then
it's funny because, like, Red Schools of Magic is, like,
takes
Alec,
place.
and, like, he's obviously part of Mortal Instruments, and we started with the Mortal Instruments.
The Red Schools of Magic covers what Alec and Magnus are doing in book 4 of Mortal Instruments.
Good.
So we truly back in it, lads.
Oh boy.
And then we're gonna read Chain of Gold. Very excited for that. So yeah, we're excited for the rest of this year. We got a good lineup for the year. Season 2 underway. Yep. Very excited about what we're doing. Yeah. So you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We have a Facebook now.
Oh yeah, we're really lighting that puppy up too.
We got a YouTube. Why did I say it like that?
YouTube.
I want to shout out a fan who contacted us this week. Hold on, let me get my where's my response so I can get their exact name. They were tweeting us about some good books that we might read. What is it? Okay, Shannon Bassett on Twitter, Ian Sexy. Thank you for following us and enjoying our content, dog.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it.
I feel like that's something we should do now. If you tweet at us on Twitter or comment on our IG and talk about stuff, we will give you a shout out on the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at KJane0696. I'm still pushing the TikTok. It will not end.
SROYM0M. Dane reads stuff.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
And then our intro and outro music is Distant Thunder, Sunday Morning, off the album Springtide. Well, by Springtide, off the album This Is the End. I beefed it. I need to go take a shower.
Oh, and I'm gonna go to bed.
I might eat a cheese stick as well if I have
Shoot,
any.
I forgot to get sleepy time tea.
Oh, poor baby.
Damn it.
Okay.
Oh.
Bye.
Okay, bye.